What a day. We've just finished off the annual 41,000 social ride here in the Blue Mountains. Big old morning on the bike, that's for sure. We kicked up bright and early, huge crew as you can see behind us, a couple hundred riders, lots of industry support. And Scotty, you were riding the Santa Cruz. Mate, we're about halfway through the review time. You've had it for about a month now.
Yep.
We've already done a first impressions review on this bike, but mate, this is the bike you rode today. Tell us a bit about how you're going with it.
So the ride we did today is a charity ride we do every year in the lower Blue Mountains, the 41,000. And I thought I'd take out the Heckler. It's 40 Ks, just over 1,000 meters of elevation, heaps of descents, heaps of big gaps, booters, trail rides, like everything you can throw at a bike. So I figured seeing the Heckler is purposely built for an all mountain style bike. I thought, well, it'd be perfect ride for it.
Mate, there's no denying that a lot of the trails we rode today are full-blown downhill tracks. Like it was rocky, rocky, rocky. And then when we were climbing though, mate, they were steep hinge. I remember I was like a turtle. I flew off the back ones in boost mode. So how did how'd the Heckler go? Do you reckon this was the perfect machine for a day like that? Because we did a lot of miles in a pretty short amount of time with a big group. Did you want a bit more bike or a bit less bike? Or
funny enough, like as you know, and as we've touched on in previous reviews, I mean, we ride a lot of heavy terrain in the lower Blue Mountains. It's definitely a proving ground for components. And like even on the initial impressions edit that we did, that people may have checked out at home, how capable this bike is. I mean, this is 29-inch wheels, 160mm travel up front, 150 in the back. But you know, for what this for, how versatile it is on the ups, on the trails, but on the descents, this thing's an animal. Like, it is an absolute animal.
So mate, I want to ask you, has your first impressions of this bike was that when we did that first video that was really capable all-rounder, but you'd only ridden it a few times. Now that you've spent a month, has those impressions started to change as you try to discover a bit more of its personality? Have you been putting in a few Ks on this thing? We've
been doing heaps of Ks. So we've been out doing regular shuttles, you know, up and down, bombing some descents, some big trail rides, and like the ride we did today, which is like got everything in it, big gaps, jumps, rock sections, you know, shoots, booters, corners, like the whole kit and caboodle. This bike was absolutely awesome, and like, to put it in simple terms, if I was going to buy an e-bike, like I'd buy one of these. I would 100% buy one of these. I absolutely love it.
It's interesting. That's one of the questions or comments we often get here at the magazine or on the YouTube channel is, you boys that review these bikes, like what would you spend your own money on? And so I think that says a lot. That you'd actually, this is a bike you'd grab. So look, one other thing I want to ask you about this bike is the EP8 motor that obviously that Santa Cruz has shaped this bike around, the heart and soul, I guess you'd say, of any e-bike. This is the new version. Now, it's the first original EP8 had a bit of a noise thing and a few bits and pieces going on with it. And you rode that motor quite a lot. Now, this bike you've ridden a fair bit. How are you finding the motor and the power delivery and all that kind of stuff?
In comparison to the motor from yesteryear, this motor is a lot quieter. The power delivery is a lot smoother. And I find this motor is a little bit more refined. So even though it's a 720 watt battery, and you know, you've got your torque from your economy, trail, boost setting, and it's a lot more economical. So I find with this wattage of battery, you can go on missions, you can go on short missions. The bike's actually pretty light for what it is. So as far as sort of, how would you say, economy goes, then I think Santa Cruz have really hit the mark with this Heckler.
Interesting. Now, just before we wrap this vid up, I want to ask you, like we said before, about a month in, you've been doing a lot of Ks. In terms of like when we get these bikes, they're fully stocked to spec. We don't change anything on them. Is there anything you've changed so far? Is there anything you've broken so far? Is there anything you've felt let the bike down? Or has it been pretty smooth sailing so far? Because I know you've ridden this, like, look at this tyre. This bike's been ridden a lot. Yeah,
like everything on it, the wheels are bulletproof. We've beat the shit out of these wheels, excuse my French. But overall, like for what it is, and bang for your bucks. I mean, you can get the boutique version of these in the CC, and there's a number of different build options and whatnot in these. However, you know, 36 fork, new Super Deluxe air shock in the back, race face wheels, obviously the...
Good spec, isn't it?
It's a really like sort of user-friendly do-it-all spec. Still comes with a Burtec carbon bar.
You haven't even changed your grips either. Haven't stock grips as well.
Funny enough, like, and as you know, like I'm super picky about my picky about my grips. However, the Santa Cruz grips are dynamite. I actually really like them.
Right.
Code brakes, plenty of stopping power. So overall, I think it's
We needed that today.
Yeah,
Dude,
there's some
we had
steep
200 people out on the single track. We're going a warp speed and all of a sudden we're stopping.
Yep.
That's a good testament.
So depending on your flavour, depending on what you like in a bike, personally, there's not a great deal I'd probably change about this bike. There's maybe a couple of things I might tweak. Even this, the dropper's pretty good as well. So sure. I know they've saved a few bucks with this bike, as any bike company does throughout a range of bikes. However, I've really enjoyed riding this, so it'd be interesting to see how it sort of handles when we do a few more trips elsewhere, not just on our local trails.
Well, there we have it. So far, so good. Scotty's already said he's keen to buy it himself. So Santa Cruz seem like they've definitely knocked this one out of the park. We're about halfway through review. We're gonna have a full wrap up coming out in about a month's time.
And how good's the colour?
I mean, perfect. I like, honestly, I reckon all the colours are sick.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, coming at you live from the 401000 2023 edition. Cheers for tuning in.
You.
Stay tuned for more.